guys, and welcome to my review of Boku no Hero Academia Season 2 Episode 6, I believe this is. The boy was born with everything. First of all, spoiler alert, I will be spoiling what happens in the manga, so if you're not up to date, click away now. This is for manga readers, so yeah. Now that I've warned you, I can talk about the episode. The episode in itself was kind of slow, not too much happened. We had the stuff with Todoroki and Deku in the beginning, which I said last time I wanted to talk a lot about. And then we had some like explanations of what the tournament is gonna be. We had the beginning of the Deku versus Shinzo match, and then just some like light comedy sprinkled here and there. It was enjoyable, but definitely not as good as the previous episodes. Maybe with the exception of episode 1, which was also kind of slow, but we need these episodes. Like, they have to fill out 26 episodes somehow without like ending at an awkward place, so it makes sense that they had to do this once in a while. It was like a good kind of gap episode with still information to gain, information to be gained, I guess. But let's start talking about Todoroki and Deku, because I really like that conversation they have there, because that conversation in itself just explains so much about Todoroki, and looking as a manga reader on how Todoroki acts in this part of the series, I think it's really interesting to see how far he's come when it comes to like social interactions, but how he's still super awkward, because kind of like Deku, when Todoroki asks him, okay, are you the illegitimate child of All Might or whatever, and Deku just has this, what? How did you come to that conclusion kind of face. I think that says a lot about how Todoroki puts things together. Like, he's instantly like, yeah, there is connection between All Might and Deku, therefore they must be related. I think it's really funny that he thinks like that, because obviously that's not that they are connected, but it's more like, you know, a student-teacher kind of thing. But of course for Todoroki, that's not really a difference because of his relationship to Endeavor, who also happens to be his father, or biological father. I'm not too fond of calling Endeavor his father, because it's kind of like the, just because you're blood, you don't necessarily have to be family, because Endeavor didn't really treat him that well, so yeah. But I like how they interact, because Todoroki is very, he just tells Deku all of the reasons for doing everything. Like, he's socially awkward in the way that he doesn't really know how to connect with other people, but he's kind of like ready to just tell people his personal problems and stuff like that. Like, yeah, I'm never gonna use my left side because of my father, and I'm kind of picking a fight with you because he wants me to suppress All Might, and I'm gonna do so without using my left side because that means that I've rejected him completely, and these are all my family issues, and my mother spilled boiling hot water on me because I reminded her too much of my father and all that stuff. Like, he literally just dumped all of his problems on Deku and was just like, and that's why I'm picking a fight with you, goodbye. Super awkward little child. But I mean, it makes sense that Todoroki kind of turned out away, I guess, because he's been he's lived a relatively sheltered life. Like, he wasn't even allowed to play with his siblings because he was above them, because he had both the quirks, and yeah, he was the special child who was born with everything and yet nothing. Oh, the irony. But yeah, I really like Todoroki for that, because he's just socially awkward, and in this stage he's also like the emo child who has a lot of problems and kind of feels sorry for himself, but is ready to take that self-deprivation and just like curse the world with it. But I like how Deku isn't like, oh, I feel so sorry for you, but more in, yeah, I'm still gonna beat you kind of way, because that's kind of how Deku is. He understands that he still needs to win, even though, I mean, yeah, maybe some other people deserve to win as well, but Deku needs to win because he needs to become the symbol of peace in the place of All Might at some point later. But yeah, I really like that interaction, just because it tells you so much about Todoroki as a character, just how he is, because he really is not like the quiet, analytic type, and then he just like kind of dumps all his problems on you because he can. And he doesn't stop to think that maybe he's giving too much information, just sharing too much, but he just does it. But at the very least he didn't like do that in front of the entire class. He just told Deku, and Kacchan happened to be listening in on that. Again, from now on I'm just always gonna talk about Kacchan in the end of these videos, because we all know that I just, once I start, I never stop. But yeah, I like Deku in this episode a lot, cause right in the beginning of the season, All Might had a lot of focus on how Deku has kind of like the right mindset for becoming the #1 hero, but he's still like a crybaby, he still has doubts, and in this episode as well, he's kind of like, he again says that, oh, I only came this far because of luck and my good friends who helped me, and All Might is just like, yeah, even though that may be the case, which of course it isn't, because Deku, again, as I talked about last time, he's good at using the things around him. He still tells Deku to stand up proud and just go in with all he has and stand as if he belongs, because he does. Deku does belong in this world of really great heroes, even though he can only use 5% of his power. I mean, that's still 5%, it's better than 0, and he has a relative control over his power at this point in time. So I like the little pep talk that All Might gave him, because it was like a very, it wasn't like a really grand pep talk, it was like, Deku kind of already knew that All Might thought these things about him, and Deku already knew that he kind of belonged in this stage, but he just like needed that one little push to like believe it fully. And I think that's really great, because All Might, at this point, All Might and Deku have known each other for like a year's time. So I think All Might has kind of learned how to support Deku at this point, even though he's kind of really bad at it still. Which is another reason I really like the All Might Endeavor interaction. Because you have All Might being really approachable and just like, let's go have tea, and oh, Todoroki is just really strong and he's only using his eyes, I mean, you must have taught him well, and Endeavor's just like, get the hell out of here. I don't need to see your stupid face right now. And then you just have All Might so genuinely asking how to guide the next generation, and Endeavor's just like, dude, what the fuck? Because All Might is generally interested in knowing and learning how to teach the children that he's supposed to teach. Like, he's literally a teacher, but he's just so bad at it. Like, he has no experience, and unlike Aizawa, who is just like a natural teacher, I don't know if I've talked about that, I might at some point talk about Aizawa and how good of a teacher he is, but Aizawa is really, really good, and he has experience to back it up with his natural talent, and All Might just, he doesn't really have all of that. He's not really a guiding figure, like, in terms of giving actual good advice. And we know this from the manga as well, even in the most recent arcs, he still goes around with, like, teaching 101 or teaching for idiots and stuff like that, because he's still so bad at it. Because he's used to being an inspiring figure, like, he just has to save lives and look cool, and that inspires people, but he's not used to, like, using words and encouraging people with words and giving them actual useful advice that will help them. And especially because when you have a hero course, it's very important that each advice that you give, like, each student needs different kinds of advice. Like, you can't just tell every single person in the class to just like stand up straight until you eventually make it, like fake it until you make it. You can't really do that to every single person, because they have different mindsets, they have different quirks, they have different approaches to things, they want to become different types of heroes. Like, we've seen people from the class express that they want to be different kind of heroes. Again, Kacchan wants to be the kind who beats the villains, Deku wants to save people, Tsuyu wants to be the type of hero who comes to like disaster sites and rescue people. And stuff like that. Ida wants to be like a guiding figure like his brother. So people want to become different kinds of heroes. So All Might needs to be able to teach different kinds of things to different kinds of people. That's possibly why he asks Endeavor, because I believe that All Might has probably had a bit of a problem approaching Todoroki, and at this point in time, because he knows shit about Todoroki, he's just like, oh yeah, Endeavor, he's taught him well. He's taught him how to be strong and analytical and cool-minded in a hot-heated situation. So let me just ask him, and Endeavor just blanks him off. Because in reality, he isn't that much of a good teacher either. If he had been, he would have been a good father as well, because I swear to God, imagine how strong Todoroki would have been if he trained under his father and his father had been like a nice guy. It would probably turn out a lot better for him. But I like that because it just shows you a lot when a character starts opening up. It shows a lot about their character and how they are. So for Todoroki, as I said, was about like who he is as a person and how he's just socially awkward and just doesn't understand humans. And for All Might, it's like he genuinely wants to learn something that he's completely new at, because teaching probably wasn't his plan. He wanted to be a hero for the rest of his life, probably. So now we're getting into the Kacchan territory. If you don't want me to rant for 20 minutes about Kacchan, you can just turn off now. Kacchan is in two scenes, and I probably will still talk about him a lot. So the first scene that is in is that we see him eavesdrop on the conversation between Todoroki and Deku. And I think I mentioned this before, how I really, really like how Kacchan is respectable enough to not say that he's there, but still curious enough for him to stay and listen to the entire conversation. Because the thing about Kacchan is that he is the kind of character to really give off like some sort of facade. That's the word I'm looking for. That was like 20 seconds you didn't see where I just looked for the word facade. But he portrays himself to be somewhat stronger, somewhat more of what he is, when in reality he can be quiet, he can be just smart, analytical, and just all of those things that we don't see him be usually because he yells a lot. But he does pay attention to the people that he considers his rivals, and he just in general, he pays attention to his surroundings because he does understand that in order for him to become #1, all these people are maybe not his enemies, but they are still people to beat, because if they are above him, then he's not #1. And Todoroki and Deku are of course the two people that he wants to beat the most in his class, because Deku, obviously, and Todoroki is the guy that he considers actually stronger than him, as he's told Deku. So I think it's interesting that he stays, because it's not, the thing is, Todoroki and Deku aren't even talking like about their quirks or about anything that has any like type of value to him, but they're talking like Todoroki's personal problems, as I said in the beginning of the video, and that Todoroki has noticed the connection between Deku and All Might, but we know that Kacchan has as well because of manga. So it's interesting to see Kacchan just listening in on this and just taking everything in and then leave when they're done with their conversation, because we also know later that Kacchan notices these things about Todoroki and how he sometimes uses fire, how Deku makes him use his fire, and how Todoroki doesn't in the match against Kacchan, and he gets pissed off because now that he knows Todoroki's story, he like, the thing is with Kacchan, he agrees with Deku when it comes to Todoroki, like, this is your own quirk, use it. If you won't use your full power, that's kind of like looking down on the rest of us, because that's what ultimately has Kacchan being so mad at Todoroki in the finals. It's just that Todoroki tries to win against Kacchan, who so desperately wants to become #1 without using his full power. And as I talked about last time, because Kacchan wants to be the indisputable #1, that's not gonna work for him. Like, Kacchan could have won without Todoroki giving up, and he would still be super mad because Todoroki never used his left side. So, yeah, I just like that even though Kacchan and Deku are different people, they still come to the same conclusion that Todoroki is his own person. He has his own quirk, despite like him being the product of his parents' quirks, and he should use them because it's his own power, and it's kind of disrespectful if he doesn't. So, because the thing is, Kacchan never says any of that, it's just Deku who says that, but you know that Kacchan feels the same way because of how mad he gets and how he is as a person. And the thing about Kacchan is, because he does still want to be a hero, he still wants to be the kind of person who saves people, and he still has this kind of like, just this, yeah, just this thing about him. He still wants to, kind of deep in his heart, save Todoroki from the pit that he's in. Like, he still has those instincts, because as he says in the Community Ward arc, he was won over by All Might's smile, and All Might is a person who saves people. So even if Kacchan is still a person who wants to just beat up villains because he has a cool quirk and he wants to stand on top of the world, he is still a hero who wants to save people, and while he has a very different approach to that than Deku has, it's still what he kind of tries to do in the match against Todoroki. Like, he tries to provoke him to use his fire, he tries to tell him that he should use it because it's his power, and Kacchan feels disrespected that he won't use his full power, and shouldn't Todoroki do that because he calls Todoroki's power his own power. He doesn't call it his father's power or anything like that. He calls it Todoroki's power. So with very different approaches and various different results, Kacchan and Deku still come to the same conclusion about Todoroki and his quirk. A conclusion that takes Todoroki an awfully long time to get, but that's of course because it's his problems and it's his like quirk, and he needs to come to terms with the path that he's chosen might not necessarily be the right one, and then it takes him like 17,000 arcs to like find the right path, and he's still in the process of doing that in the manga. But again, fair enough, it's only been a couple of months between now and the time of the manga, because for some reason the manga moves awfully slow despite things happening all the time. Now the second scene Kacchan is in, because I'm only halfway done, is by the end when he's like, oh, Uraraka, who the fuck is that? Because that's his first opponent. And that's again another interesting trait of Kacchan's, is that while he pays super much attention to Deku and Todoroki and possibly a few other guys in their class because they're potential rivals or they're like just there around him, like he knows Kirishima, even though, I mean, names, he like Uraraka, who the fuck are you? Because to him she's probably just like floaty girl who's together with Deku a lot. But again, the thing that's really great about this is that Kacchan is like, I have no idea who this Uraraka girl is, but as soon as he figures out, we all know that Kacchan takes her super seriously. Cause the entire thing with Kacchan is, again going back to Deku, when Deku has accepted someone, and when Deku is like, yeah, this person is a good person, this person is a strong person, Kacchan almost automatically thinks the same thing. So he's like, okay, Deku has acknowledged this girl, therefore she must be strong, and on top of that, she's in class A, she's in the hero course, like, all of these things are just like, it contributes to Kacchan taking her seriously, because as we know, for us manga readers who read everything, we know that Kacchan takes her seriously. We know that in the match he's super cautious about everything, and while he completely overpowers her, like, she doesn't even scratch him, he still respects her a lot. And even after the match, when he had such an overwhelming victory, he tells people off when people says that she wasn't strong and that she, like, that he was so much stronger than her, because he sees value in these people. And I believe, like, again, this is the thing with Kacchan, I do believe that he sees value in more people than he lets on, because I think there's like a certain type of respect he has for the people in class A, just because they're here, they all went through like the same thing to get where they are, and they were there on the villain attack, and they were all like courageous heroes in that situation, despite like lack of experience and training and just being first years, like they were 15. So he does have a certain respect for all the people in his class, even though he barely knows any of them. But just because he doesn't know any of them doesn't mean he can't respect them. It's kind of like knowing a group of people, like, you know this group of hero, they are there and they are good at what they do, but you know none of their names. Kacchan is kind of like that, I think. He doesn't really pay attention to the people who don't stand out and who he don't think can really give him a challenge, but that doesn't mean that he disrespects them or just doesn't care about them at all, because he does. And again, that's why in the cavalry battle he chooses people based on their quirks, not because he doesn't, like, obviously because he doesn't really know them, but again because he sees value in their quirks, so he's like, yeah, Acid, that's a good quirk against Todoroki, and he trusts that she can do this, like, that she can do what he wants her to do, that she can live up to expectations. The same with Zero, and of course Kirishima, because they've been bonding a little at this point, and a lot more later in the series. So I like that about Kacchan, because it, when you look at him, it's just, every single scene with him is just so masterfully used. Like, I think the reason that I like Kacchan this much is just that every single time he has panel time, there is like a reason there. I think Todoroki and Uraraka up till like the next 2 arcs are the same kind of thing. Like, every single time these people have panel time, there's something new to learn about them, or it shows something new about them, or it just like it enforces what we already know about them. I think especially with, I think especially with Kacchan, because the thing with Kacchan is there's the person that he wants to be perceived as, and then there's a person he really is, and seeing, like, it's not hard to see the person he really is once you know what to look for, especially, again, if you're a manga reader, because the more we go into the story, the more we learn about Kacchan, the more his character is unfolded, and that's why I like rereading Boku no Hero Academia almost after each arc, and just, I'm gonna do it especially again after the anime, because we learn so much that explains so much about Kacchan, so every time you go back to reread, you understand why he does certain things. And that's really like one of the reasons that I like Boku no Hero Academia this much. I've told you before that for me the greatest stories are also always the ones that have the greatest characters. Like, I can't just be engaged just by the story, I need the great characters, hence why I'm such a big sports anime fan. Like, give me a sports anime, I will probably love it to death if it has good characters, and if it doesn't have good characters, I'm gonna drop that like so quickly. But yeah, I'm just ranting about Kacchan here, but I feel like he's such an underappreciated character because he's so well crafted. I could talk about him forever, really, but he's just, all those small little things about him are just things I could talk about for so long, and they all just show these different sides of him and how he's just not actually as confident and secure in his abilities and powers as he makes it seem like he is. It's, again, going back to when he said, I'm gonna be #1 just before the entire thing began, and you have Deku saying, or having that internal monologue of saying, yeah, this isn't Kacchan just saying what the outcome will be, he's driving himself into a corner, because the old Kacchan would just have laughed everything off. But this Kacchan is driving himself into a corner, he's making everyone want to beat him, because that's the way he can improve, that's the way that he'll know that if he wins, he's truly the best. It's all those small little things, because again, Kacchan is in no way redeemed for what he did to Deku, he's still a bully, but I think it's really interesting to see why he is this way and how there's so much beneath the surface of him, and just especially when we get to, of course we won't get to that in this season, but when we get to like the end term exam, where you just like, that's one of those arcs where all of his insecurities, they're really like just beneath the surface, and then we have the post-Camino Award fight where everything just burst for him and he actually like, that just, it hurts. Like, again, you saw my live reaction that I cried. Yeah, Kacchan's just like my little baby. I love him so much. I love him so much. Like, I really can't wait to do my character analysis on him, but yeah. That'll have to be for another day because I still have the other ones to finish. So, I'm gonna stop here. For those who stayed till the end, a lot of you probably didn't because you saw how much time there was left when I started talking about Kacchan. You can leave a like on this video if you like anything I have to say. Leave in the comments below what you thought of the episode, and you can subscribe if you want to see more. Until next time, bye!